legs yet again. So it's been, what, 3 days since the last leg day. Right at the back, chest, and then arms. So I was fucking feeling legs for, you know, like 2 days afterward because I did an actual heavy set of squats. That shit will fuck you up. So thinking squats are gonna go down again. But before any quad movements, I like to finish hamstrings completely. So, I'll probably do laying leg curls, maybe a little bit of seated leg curls, and some cable RDLs. I might do some bar, some barbell RDLs, but I don't know. I kind of get a way better squeeze with the cables. But it really depends on what kind of machines you have at your gym, right? Because I can't do the cable RDLs just on a normal like cable stack, the one where you do like push downs on. It just doesn't work. Like your face is gonna run into the thing, or you're gonna be leaning back too far. It's just not really how that's gonna go down. But laying curl, seated curl, then cable RDL. I'll do, I don't know how many sets of each, but in total, it's going to be 11 sets for hamstrings. That's been my sort of go-to number of sets. Because by the time I do 11 hard sets, for one thing, I'm fully pumped. And then it just kind of feels right. It just feels right for me to do 11 sets. So, when I do still get questions, how many sets are in the workouts? I record every set, right? Every set that got recorded, unless I say otherwise, was how many sets were in the lift. So when I do back, like this last back day when I showed you like 5 sets of pull downs, 2 sets of rows, and then like 3 sets of pullovers. No, I think there's one more set in there. I don't remember what it was, but there's just 11 sets for the whole back, right? In that way, I kind of like to constrain how the workout, ends up, or it sort of constrains what the workup. I'm really freaking out right now. It constrains what the workout consists of, right? Because if you go into the gym like completely mindlessly and you just kind of think, okay, I want to do arms, and you just end up bouncing around the some push downs and some curls. I mean, there's just no, there's no. What's the indicator that you're done, right? I wouldn't want to just go in and bounce around random equipment just mindlessly, right? I know I've got 11 sets to get a crazy ass pump and just rip my hamstrings to shreds, and then follow that up with quads. So I'm gonna make sure that each set I do ends up being, pretty hard. But if I were to recommend volume for you all, or just for anybody in general, by the time you've done, I'd say around maybe 7 or 8 to 12 sets for a body part. As long as the sets were hard, I mean, you should be fully pumped, and it's not like that's the indicator that you've done enough to stimulate growth, but doing any more volume than that, you're not going to get any more benefit, right? Like I've done this kind of analogy before. The curve of benefit, like if the y-axis is benefits and the x-axis is number of sets. Obviously, if you do 0 sets, you get nothing out of it. If you do 1, you might get a little. I think you'll probably get a bit more out of 2, a bit more out of 3, maybe a bit more out of 4. But then around that 7 to 12 mark, that's probably where it's going to peak, right? And then going much further than that, it'll probably level off, or after a while, go down, right? And you'll not be making any progress. So, if your chest day consists of 20 sets total, right, across all exercises, whatever you do, I think you got to condense the workout, make your sets a bit more intense, and then the same goes for all muscles. But 7:43. They close at 9:30. That is more than enough time to obliterate legs. So make sure I go freaking crazy in there. So it's going to be a pretty repetitive start to hamstrings. All right, I warmed up the calves a little bit on the calf machine. I think pre-hamstring curls is kind of a necessity. The back of my knee will get a little stiff if I don't. I mean, maybe that's just a me thing, but whatever. Whatever. And I laid down the leg curl, did half the stack for like, I don't know, 5, then did a little more for 5, a little more, until I did the stack for like 3, just to make sure everything feels good. So I'm just gonna sit here and throw the stack around for as many sets as I can. So let's just get into it. Holy shit. I say this about a lot of different kinds of sets. Well, mainly movements where you can do partials, right? Side laterals, uh, pec deck, right? Shit like that. There's more, but I can't think of them right now. I would not want to end the set just because I couldn't get my legs to, I don't know, 90 or whatever I got them to on the first few reps, right? Because if that's your cue to end the set, I think you're just leaving so much more in the tank, right? I'd want to do sets like that where I'm like fucking barely moving it at the end. I feel like that's a pretty solid way to go about it if it's just you. Now, if I had a buddy here with me, I could do my 10 reps normal without assistance and then get some assisted reps for the end. That'd be a good set too. Really all I'm trying to say is, try not to leave too much, if anything, in the tank at the end of each of your sets. Oh my God. Oh shit. So, maybe just a personal preference thing. I definitely prefer trying to strap my arms around this little handle apparatus like I'm trying to fucking choke it out. Just because if I were to sit here and hold on like this, it's just not a very strong position, right? Like, I feel like I'm activating a ton of biceps and forearms and like my back to hold myself in. Whereas if I grab it like this, I'm not fucking activating any muscles, right? I'm just locked in. I say this every time with the with RDLs. It's definitely a trickier movement, right? Because you're doing essentially a deadlift. Maybe not off the floor level to completely locked out, but it's pretty much that same movement. But you're trying to keep your lower back and your glutes completely out of the equation. So, I mean, when I do these, it's not so much weight where I'm worried about hurting my lower back, right? Because I mean, my back gets pretty freaking round. But if I were to have a straight back, I don't know. I feel like it would just work too much lower back. You know, do however you got to do it to feel your hamstrings firing. And that's pretty much the end of it. You're going to have to figure that out for yourself with practice. Oh, one more. One friggin' more. Oh, okay. Let's go do some single leg curls. Oh. All right, my machine of choice was hijacked. So instead, I'm not going to sit and wait for it. I'll just do seated curls. I'll just do double leg. And instead of just trying to throw around as much weight as possible, like I was doing on those first sets of curls, I'll be a little bit more controlled, squeeze it, really burn. You know, pretty much fitting the criteria of what I always recommend. Combining heavy, fucking crazy sets with maybe lighter squeezing sets where you're really fighting the burn instead of just fighting the weight itself. Okay. Let's move on to, I think, squats. All right, so just squatting a plate, I could tell that the adductors were not feeling it. Whew. So today is going to be a goddamn leg extension. Well, all my quad workouts are leg extension focused, but I mean, I might just do only leg extensions. So before I even went over to the squat rack, I warmed up my quads in the leg extension. So I did half the stack for a couple, then a little more for a couple, then a little more, then a little more, until I was doing the whole stack for a couple of reps. I mean, you know, pre-squats or if you're a leg press fan, whatever, doing some leg extension just to get some activation. It always feels better for me. But, so now my quads are already warm. I'm just not going to be squatting, so I'll just jump straight into heavy leg extensions. Make sure I get a full stretch in the bottom and a hard squeeze on top. And try not to get bored because you're going to be sitting here for a while. Come on. Shit. All right, I'm not going to do any discussion in between these sets. I'll just show all the next 9 in a row. All right, come on. Come on. Come on. Oh, holy shit. Oh man. Last set. Make sure I don't leave anything left in the tank. Okay. Let's go check the pump. All right. Just low enough on the exposure to get a little bit of extra freakiness. I'm not leaving, but it is time to leave. But what I was about to say was those 11 sets of leg extensions, it only took me like 30 minutes. So that was the entire quad workout, which, you know, it's about right. Maybe how long did the set take? Maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds. And then a 2-ish minute rest period. Then do it again. That sounds about right to me. So let's see what kind of pump that elicited. I'm too fucking tired to take the pants all the way off. I'll just drop them. Oh. 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 All right, we got a little something going on in here. Oh my goodness. So a bit of the separation's a little bit gone, just because when your quads get pumped, this little side fucking head and the teardrop, and then this shit in the middle, which you can probably barely see right now. It kind of just blobs together. Ooh, but there's definitely still some separation. I said this in the last leg day. Once I get trim, and I drop maybe another 5% body fat or whatever, down another 10 pounds once the cut starts, I'm going to start to see some pretty craziness in the outside and even in here in my in the teardrop part of my quad. Maybe not so much once I'm pumped because the detail kind of fades, but unpumped, I said this exact speech in the last leg day. Some fucking fibers are going to pop out, which you don't normally see, right? Some feathering. So, in terms of lifting milestones, seeing some quad feathering, that's up there. That is not a beginner milestone like benching 225 and feeling your fucking chest activate when you're benching. I didn't mean to make both those references about chest, but notable milestones nonetheless. So I'm fucking gassed. Do I feel like that was a bad quad workout because it was only leg extensions? No. No, I do not. For one thing, I've been doing primarily leg extensions. That's the guy who was just talking. Uh, he wants me out of here. But so for one thing, I've seen that it's been fucking working for me because I've been doing primarily leg extensions for like 80 and 90% of my quad volume for the last fucking however many years. And clearly, like, I don't have absolutely like monstrous legs that jump right out at you, but they're pretty big. They're not small. So I've seen that it fucking works for me. And I can fucking feel my whole quad down here to even up here has been fatigued, right? This is another thing that kind of gets me, when you guys are freaking out about my form and whatnot. My goal is not to do movements perfectly, right? When I step up to a lat pull down, or when I step up to a bench, or whatever other movement, my goal is not, okay, I'm going to get complete extension and I'm going to touch my chest with a bar, and complete extension and touch my chest with the bar. And then I guess pretty much the same shit with bench. Lockout, touch my chest, lockout. That is not what's going through my fucking mind, right? What I'm thinking is, okay, I'm about to hit my fucking lats. I want to have a fucking ton of tension on them, and I want to feel like I'm doing some work, right? Enough where after a couple of sets, I'm starting to get fatigued and pumped. So for me, loading up a fuck ton of weight in the lat pull down and not going all the way down to fucking here, right? Staying more so in this middle area and feeling my fucking lats work. That's what I'm fucking going for. Same with chest, right? I don't need to fucking hit complete depth. Now, for me, that may not be a point that should apply to you. Like if you're limber enough, right? Go to your chest, whatever. For me, my fucking everything up here is pretty tight. So a couple inches off or a few inches off, that feels like good depth for me. But I'm not going all the way to the fucking top and locking out, right? For me, I get better reps, or I feel like I'm doing better reps. I'm getting a lot of activation and fucking fatigue and getting a pump when I'm sticking in this fucking low rep to fucking maybe medium-ish range of motion. Tension on the chest, fucking burning out, right? I'm fucking aiming for my chest and I'm hitting it as hard as possible. And that does not always mean perfect form. Now, that is not to say that I want you to just do movements like a fucking asshole, right? That's not what I'm trying to tell you, right? I'm really just trying to say perfectly executed reps shouldn't necessarily be your number one concern, right? That should really be fucking thrashing whatever muscle you're trying to target. Now, it's not like perfect form is bad for you. And if anything, as a beginner, sure, you should try to focus on it just because, you don't really know what you're doing yet. But if you've lifted for a while, right, I know I'm going to have a better pump on biceps if I load up some fucking 75s with straps and the last couple reps of the set, I'm fucking swinging it instead of sitting here with the 40s. Slow, just perfectly controlled reps, right? Now, I mean, hey, fuck it, maybe that's just my style, right? Once you've lifted long enough, you'll be able to just kind of fucking figure out what works best for you. So enough of this little form rant. I'm probably gonna go sit in the car for a little bit, finish off a little. I actually put ice in the jug this time. Very good move. I need to not skip that part. But I'm gonna go sit in the car for a little bit, then we can do the car talk and the cluster dextrin shake. There we go. Whoosh. Legs complete. Legs freaking complete. What else is there to discuss? Fuck, let me try to ponder some topics while I slam the cluster dextrin shake and refuel my intramuscular glycogen. Come on. So tomorrow's gonna be chest. Same as normal, you know. I'll fucking talk about the workout tomorrow. I need to get into it right now. Believe it or not, I actually didn't go to Cane's for 5 days in a row. The 4-day streak seemed to satisfy me, I guess. So I gotta get home and I don't know what I'm gonna eat. I don't know, I got a bunch of packs of ramen. Maybe I'll do 2 of those. Reasonably easy to get down. You know, 2 packs. That's gonna be 30 grams of fat, maybe a little less, and then like 100 and change worth of carbs. I'm not insanely concerned about the sodium. You know, in a as long as you're drinking enough fluids every day, it's good to have some fucking salt going on, right? If you don't have any electrolytes floating around your system, you're gonna get worse pumps. You're gonna have fucking more headaches than the average Joe. I mean, I couldn't think of the last time I had a fucking headache. Oh, I can't actually. No, that's a lie. I can think of the last time I had one in the gym. I was doing legs, and dude, the bottom of every rep of squats just fucking felt like my head was gonna explode. That was back when I was at school, so that was probably a combination of factors. Most likely, little sleep, too few, little sleep and little hydration. I would assume. That's probably what got me that day. I'm rewatching Berserk for the billionth time right now. Anybody with class knows that you got to look up Berserk Redux instead of just watching the shows or the movies, because like the movies, they miss some bits that the old show covered. So this guy edited it together and he fucking pieced it so it kind of changes animation, but it actually covers pretty much everything up until the eclipse. And then it's the 2016 show afterwards, which is a little bit, I don't want to say repulsive, but let's say off-putting to some. So, probably gonna watch some of that when I go home and eat. Yeah, fuck, man. There's not a lot for me to fucking talk about right now, apart from the training. My days have been pretty repetitive. It's just summertime. A lot of chilling is being done. I'm not really getting exposed to any outside discourse, right? Like when I'm at school, I kind of feel like I have more things to just fucking talk about or comment on, because I see fucking, college students running around, keeping me up to date on random shit when I go to the rec center for cardio. But you know, still killing it, fucking every day. It once you've lifted enough, or let's say consistently enough for long enough, it doesn't really become a challenge to maintain going into the gym on a, you know, I don't want to say consistent again, but on a, day by day, week by week basis, right? Like when I hear somebody talking to me and they're like, well, obviously, I guess they wouldn't burp when they tell me this, but, and they're like, yeah, I just had to take a couple weeks off the gym, I was just getting tired of it, or this or that, whatever. I mean, I don't want to be a downer. I don't want to be a hater, but it just sounds like you don't freaking want it, right? And one thing that can kind of make it a little bit more difficult to, actually keep going in is if you're doing a routine that you just don't like. Like, let's say your training split, you didn't make it yourself and you didn't like cater it to your own needs. You just copied somebody else's, push pull legs split and their workouts. Let's say maybe you're doing too much volume. You're maybe doing like 20 sets per body part instead of, like 8-ish or 8 to 10-ish, like I pretty much recommend. You could be in the fucking gym for like 2.5 hours. I mean, that's a big chunk of change. It's pretty rare that I'm actually doing a workout that goes past an hour and a half, right? And that's even when I'm doing two muscle groups at once. Like legs, that only took me hour 20-ish, right? It's been a long time since I've gone over 2 hours. That was back when I first started lifting and I was doing fucking 25 sets per body part. Way too much volume, a lot of fluff work. But I'd be in the gym for fucking 3 hours one day. Oh my! I remember this one time we went on like a week vacation up to Petoskey, and they've got a badass gym up there. I guess if you know what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. Like they got a first floor section and a basement section with like a vault that had a squat rack and a bench in there. Badass gym. I forget the name of it. But the day we drove up there, I couldn't lift. Right? I didn't lift before we made the drive, and then by the time we got there, it was either closed or we just had to unpack. So I missed. I was doing push pull legs at the time, so I missed back and buys. Right? So I had 25 sets of back on the agenda and 25 sets of curls. So, and this is back when I was like 180. Actually, maybe not even 180. This was pretty early. Maybe 170s, 180s. I don't remember. But the next day was chest and tries, and rather than, this would probably be the better move, rather than just say, okay, well, fuck it, I'll just do back and buys tomorrow. I didn't want to mess up the split, so instead I added back and buys to chest and tries that day. I was in the gym for fucking 3 hours. Now that's not a flex, right? That just means I was doing way too much volume, and the sets weren't done with enough intensity, right? Like, I think it's kind of foolish when I hear people, maybe not foolish, but I just don't like when people comment like, "Oh, he only did," or it's not about the comment. It's just the fact that this is like their mindset. It's like, why do you only do 2 sets of bench? You've got to do at least four or five. Like the 2 sets were hard working sets, right? And I wanted to move on to a different kind of pressing movement. It's like I've said this before. It's not about how many sets that you're doing for a specific exercise. Right? It's about pretty much how many sets you do total and how hard the sets are. Right? So for me, I lock it in at 11. Like I said on the way here, that just feels good, and it's within about the range that I think is probably best. 8 to 12 ish. So I lock it in at 11 sets, and then I make sure that all the sets are fucking hard. And I'm fucking activating and thrashing the targeted muscle. So if I got chest, that means I've got for chest, I've got 3 basic ideas. For one, I'm going to do 11 sets. For two, I'm going to make sure all the sets are hard. And then, getting a little bit more nitpicky, the first half is going to be mainly heavy pressing movements, right? Really loading up the chest with a lot of tension. And towards the end, right, I'll transition more so into squeezing movements, like pec flies and cable flies, shit like that, where the weight is relatively lighter, like there's not as much tension on my chest, but the set is more so focused on getting a really good burning sensation, right, and just fucking pumping the muscle up with blood. So, my goal is just to lift some fucking weights in the beginning and end the lift with a pump, right? If you think I'm being a fucking asshole and I'm like telling you 11 sets or 8 to 12, and you're like, yeah, who gives a shit, right? I think it's hard to argue, at least against that point, that if you lift some fucking heavy weights and you end your lift with a pump, guess what? You just had a productive lift, right? If I were to like shadow somebody, or somebody showed me their workout plan, and I was like a little bit speculative, a little skeptical of what they were doing, but if I saw them do it, they were going hard, and then they finished the workout with a pump. Hey man, that's fucking sick, right? That's what you got to do for every muscle group, right? Sometimes, like, the way that I talk about how I work out, it may sound like I'm trying to tell you like that's the way to do it. But I mean, I'd probably still be pretty big if I went into the gym every day and did, 6 sets per body part. Or maybe I'd be just as big if I did 20 sets per body part, right? Or fucking whatever kind of weird ass split. Who gives a shit, right? If you try to do some shit, saying shit for the billionth time, if you find some kind of schedule or some kind of workout routine, it makes sense to you and you like it, and you go hard, and you're getting some results, then that's fucking badass, right? That's the goal for all of us. So take with that what you will. But I'm back to the crib. Gonna go cook something up, and then I'm going to bed. So I'll see you next time.